Hi, Roadside guy. We're going to shoot a quick video, show you how to change your tire on your 2018 Infiniti, Infiniti QX80. In the back of the vehicle, you'll find the lowering tools underneath the floor. You lift up this floor that's underneath this one here. I was shooting a video, but got interrupted, But you lift up that floor, then you have this floor. Under here, inside this case, is these rods. On these vehicles, it takes the T-handle is what would go in first, but you'll have to attach it to the other rod before you can put it in. Otherwise, it will get stuck in there. So just kind of take this and loosen it and slide it on there, and then make sure you tighten it so it doesn't get lodged in there and it won't come out. And then you'll take this end and insert it, and you kind of wiggle it around until you feel it kind of connect with what it's supposed to connect to. Once it does, it won't turn or twist anymore like it's doing now. You'll take your tire iron for your lug nuts. It has a square at the end of it, and you'll stick it on here. That'll make a T-handle. If you guys can see that there. Makes a, well, I don't know, an L handle, I guess. But you crank this counterclockwise. You want to be careful too with this nut here that you don't gouge your like aluminum finish on the back here. But just kind of crank it slowly and it'll come down. It's on a cable winch underneath the vehicle. You can see here it's just lowering down as you crank it. You want to crank this until it won't crank anymore. That way you have enough slack to pull the wheel out. If you crank it till it hits the ground and then you stop, you're going to be fighting against, the wheel and trying to lift it, and you're going to have to get on the ground and all that. So you just keep cranking it till you can't crank it anymore, and that'll give you enough slack on the cable to pull it out towards you, and you won't have to lay on the ground. Okay, once it's done, it'll stop, obviously, and you won't be able to crank it anymore. Don't try to crank it any more than that. And then just put your hand in there and pull it out. Once you have it out about that far, get it to hold it. You'll take this centerpiece here and lift it through the center of the wheel, like so, and then you'll have access to your wheel, and then you'll crank that back up. Don't crank it up completely. You want to let it hang about 10 to 12 inches. Reason being is it does not have any weight on it, so it can create slack in the line of the winch, and it can bind up later. So you just want to kind of just crank it up to get it back out of the way, but not completely up. Alright, so you can see the cable underneath here is back up and hanging. It's not completely up, and it's not low enough to hit anything on the ground. So once you have that, you can remove your tool. You see, even though I tightened it, it still came off. But it's long enough to where it'll come back out. And you just kind of have to turn it and twist it gently until you can find out the path to bring it out. Okay. So we'll put those tools back where they go in just a minute, and I'll show you guys the jack point. We'll set the emergency brake, make sure it doesn't roll. On this vehicle, it's a third pedal all the way to the left. Push that down, and it'll lock it in place. And it being a back tire on this one, I think I'll go as close to the wheel as I can get because I have a floor jack. And I'll go right under here, and we'll go ahead and start lifting that up at that point. Alright, grab my air and make sure this thing has enough air in it. Most of your spare tires are going to go flat or lose air pressure. just sitting under the vehicle because they're not being used, so you want to check them before you just put them on. Yeah, this one's good. It's got the right amount of air, so that one's good to go. Go ahead and set this up, and then we'll start changing the oil. Okay, so this vehicle takes a 21 millimeter socket or 4-way or whatever you're going to be using. And I'll bring my trusty camera assistant over here. Battery's a little dead from too many tire changes today. No worries. I keep telling myself I'm going to buy another battery, and every time I get home I completely forget to order one. Alright, so there we go. Alright, so always start your lug nuts by hand. Turn them like at least 5 times before you start impacting or using a 4-way on them. So you make sure you don't cross thread them. These kind of sit in deep, so you kind of have to twist them with your fingertips, but get them all started by hand, that's for sure. Boy, I wish they would make these things different. Alright, so now that we have all the lug nuts on, we're going to do a cross pattern to seat the wheel evenly and securely. So we'll start on one side, we'll run it in, not impacting it, but running it in. Then we'll cross to the other side, we'll run that one in, and we'll go back to the same one we started and we'll impact. Go back where we started and we'll impact. And then we'll start our cross pattern of impacting. Alright, we'll go ahead and let the vehicle down. And we'll go ahead and torque the lug nuts securely to make sure that the impact is working. And it seems it is. Maybe we just had to use the breaker bar to take it off because the last person put it on too tight. Alright, so there you have it. that is how to change your tire on your 2018 Infiniti QX80. And again, all your tools are here in the back. Depending on where you're jacking it up at, it should have jack points underneath the back side here and the front side here. You can use the rear end. Just don't use any of the front suspension. When you drop the spare tire, or when you release the emergency brake, you just push this lever down and it'll pop back up, and then you're all set. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope it helps. See you next time.